Do we have the bickering Bills again? Oh, perish the thought. But young Bills fans now have just heard or read stories of how the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl teams back in the early 90s went through a period of time when they were referred to as the bickering Bills. I know they lost all 4 Super Bowls, but reaching 4 straight Super Bowls, that's an accomplishment that likely will never happen again. Now, those Bills were 9-0 in the playoffs against all the other teams leading up to the Super Bowls. And these Bills were beating 4 separate teams. That's how hard it is to get back to the AFC Championship game. Yet, somehow, the 90s Bills did it 4 straight times. I want to take a quick break here to thank our sponsors, Blue Tusk Tech and McKinley Wines and Spirits. Both are huge Bills fans, Buffalo boosters. They're good people, and I know them personally, so please support them if you can. Now back to the Bills. Eight coaches, players, and GMs from those teams are now in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Bill Polian built those teams. Marv Levy coached them. Players were Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reed, James Lofton. Don't be surprised, they're still close friends after 20 years, seeing each other several times a year to support each other for various charities or causes. These are lifetime friendships. Just like any family, it's not always pretty. Brothers argue and fight each other, and yet will defend each other to the death. You know how that works. The Super Bowl Bills of the 90s and the current Buffalo Bills are quite similar in a lot of respects, yet quite different in others. Quarterback, Jim Kelly, in the Hall of Fame. Someday, Josh Allen will be too, probably breaking all of Kelly's records in Buffalo. General manager. Now, I know comparing Brandon Beane to Bill Polian is way premature, but Beane is proving to be an astute judge of talent. He's staying within the rules to keep his best players here in Buffalo, despite the added complications, especially financially. He's not perfect, neither was Polian, but this Bills group is still very much in its Super Bowl window, despite a lot of perceptions. Marv Levy coached these teams, is now in the Hall of Fame, and deservedly so. Sean McDermott, despite his success, is now under fire, and that is mostly due to that blowout loss to the Bengals. Still on everybody's mind. It still hurts. It's not fair, but that's how the NFL works. We can't not mention ownership. Ralph Wilson, also in the Hall of Fame. Terry Pagula quietly making sure that Beane can use upfront money to keep players on the roster. A lot of owners won't do that, so a lot of similarities there. Andre Reed, a Hall of Famer. Great. A fearless receiver, not unlike Stephon Diggs now. Did Kelly and Reed love each other all the time? Are you kidding me? Not at all. One wants you to catch everything he throws. The other expects every ball to be perfectly thrown. And often. Does that sound familiar? Well, here's one different thing I do see that makes comparing the 90s Bills and current Bills tougher. The media, both social and mainstream. Now everybody has a podcast, like you're watching right now. And fans love to get opinions they can either agree with or not. Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and others thrive on getting views, and unfortunately, it's the negative reactions that far outweigh the positive takes. That's because people who are unhappy, and that includes most sports fans, if their team isn't winning every possible
thank you to Blue Tusk
they want things
Tech.
fixed. They want somebody to be global right now, not next year, not next week. Sponsors. Fire the coach. Thank you very much. Trade this guy. Cut this guy. Trade for this guy. Draft this guy. Sign this free agent. Fire the coordinators. Fire the GM. So it's a rigged formula. The negative views in blogs, podcasts, on the national sports shows get by far the most responses, the most views, the most clicks, the most hits. If you're mostly positive, you're shilling for the team or you just don't get it. Just the other day, this was unbelievable to me, well-known talk show host Colin Cowherd, who I like most of the times, he suggested that maybe McDermott is the problem and he's the problem in Buffalo and should be fired. Well, to be fair, McDermott, yeah, he's had a couple mistakes, not being accountable for that 13-second fiasco in Kansas City won't go away. Saying that Stephon Diggs was a concern, and then a day later saying that he's not a concern is kind of puzzling. But overall, McDermott has been outstanding. No, I know the Bills haven't reached the Super Bowl. It's hard to do. McDermott and Bean inherited a mess, though. McDermott's regular season record, 62-35. That's a .639 winning percentage. Outstanding. Yes, he can thank Bean for having Allen, but McDermott's teams have been dominant most of the time. Yep, they're 4-5 in the playoffs, so pressure is building on he and Allen. McDermott is now going to focus on being the defensive coordinator, and I think that's a good thing for this team. He had that role at Carolina on a team that reached the Super Bowl, and you wonder, is Leslie Frazier getting kind of a bad rap here? He's kind of the scapegoat because he's no longer here, so I guess we'll have to find out. Just the opinion of an old guy that was in the middle of the 90s Bills, hosting the Jim Kelly Show and all that. Now just a fan, watching the games, but to suggest this team's Super Bowl window left town after the 13-second Kansas City meltdown is ludicrous, ridiculous. The roster right now, I think, is the most talented and deepest it's been since Bean McDermott arrived. McDermott isn't even 40 yet, and he's still learning his first head coaching job. Allen should be healthy. The elbow is fine. Diggs made his statement. His play speaks for itself. His teammates get him. He'll be fine. This is a hungry team, now being greatly underestimated by the national media, not to mention a lot of its own fans. Despite some perceptions, I see this team as very tight, very focused. They have a tough schedule ahead. It's a long season. Injuries can change everything in a heartbeat. The loss to the Bengals still hurts, but one game doesn't define a team. Now, who can ever forget when the Bills beat the Patriots 31-0 in the home opener back in 2003? Patriots had just missed the playoffs the year before. Tom Brady threw 4 interceptions, including a pick 6 in that game. So what happened? The Patriots bounced back, eventually beating the Bills 31-0 in the final regular season game, and then they won the whole thing. They won the Super Bowl. Now, this isn't a prediction, but this Bills team is better right now than it has been since Bean and McDermott arrived. Needs have to be addressed, and I think they have been. And oh, by the way, Damar Hamlin is playing football again. So in all my years of covering the Bills and watching them now, I'm more excited about this team than any other in the Bills' long history. If this is too positive for you and you just don't have to look very far to find an opinion, then you'll like about a lot better. And again, our thanks to sponsors Blue Tusk Tech and McKinley Wines and Spirits. Encourage you to support them. They are huge Bills fans and Buffalo boosters. So long, everybody.